when you feel ready, you are going to take your Perspective heading sheet. So if we have a look at this one, this is a pretty good one. I'll make one comment about this first of all. You can see he's achieved about a secure plus. One of the reasons he hasn't got an excellence is probably to do with the colouring. So this doesn't look quite neat enough in terms of the shading and three-dimensional. That will help. And then the inside, etc. That makes that perhaps a little bit darker, and the side of that is in shadow, so a little bit darker. Could have gone around it with a fine liner, of course, but that ends up making that a bit more accurate. Just neaten that up a bit. And then the second thing, which some of you may have noticed, which stops him getting an excellent mark, is this line there does not go to this vanishing point. So if I draw it incorrectly, it would go like that. So these letters there get narrower, even though they line up with this vanishing point, because of course not only do they get smaller that way, but they also get smaller that way. Okay, so that gives an idea of how that could have been improved to push him up to an excellence level. And if, of course, you can see a similar mistakes in your work, you can do the same and have it remarked. So let's talk about drawing this picture onto your sketchbook and doing the writing underneath. So we're going to do the normal viewpoint. So I'm going to give you a few tips to start off with. The first thing I would say is we're going to basically double the size of this box, not this one, but this one. So we're going to draw it about this size. So this is about double the size. So it's about 5.5 by 6.5. So effectively, I should pop that there for you to see. So effectively what we're going to do is we're going to make it 11 by 13. So it's 13 across. So if you stick to these measurements, it'll make it easier for you. It's 11 down. And then what I would do the eye level 6 centimeters up from the bottom. Make sure it's horizontal. So that's the horizon line or the eye level. Okay. And then it's a case of trying to transfer this drawing onto there, but showing you understand it. So again, I'll do the first section. So I'm going to, first of all, I think I'll do the road first of all this time. So I can measure it if I want. So for example, between there and where the road starts is about 1.2 centimeters. So I'm going to make that 1.4 centimeters, sorry, 2.4 centimeters. And we know the vanishing point is going to be in the middle. So half of 13 is 6.5. So there's our vanishing point there. So there is going to be our first road. We know the other part of the road, or should I say the pavement, comes in about 4 millimeters. It comes in about 8 millimeters to about there. And there's our other part of the pavement. And I'll do the other one quickly so we can see here. This one comes into there. That's about 1 centimeter up. So I'm going to make it about 2 centimeters up. And then the pavement's a bit thinner there. So there's our pavement. So we've got our road and our 2 pavements. So then we carry on doing what we said earlier. So we can measure these if we want. So for example, I can measure how low this is below the eye level. And I can say that's about 8 millimeters. So therefore it should be about 16. And I can draw the first door in, which is going to be slightly above the eye level. Again, if you work lightly, you can of course rub it out, but I'm working a little bit darker so you can see on the video. Make that line a bit longer. Then I'll do the side of the building, comes up to about there, and then the top comes to about there. So that's my front of my small building there. So let's put those lines to the vanishing point very lightly initially, so we know how far to go, and then we can work out how wide. That's obviously going to be too wide, so probably about there. The angle of the roof there needs to be the same, so slide the ruler across carefully, and then obviously the top and bottom of this window is going to also go to the vanishing point. And I'll just do the side freehand to make it show you that these are vertical and these lines go to the vanishing point. I'm going to draw the side of this house there next. That comes out right to the pavement. So that needs to be completely vertical, so don't tilt the ruler. So that comes to about there. The height of this is quite high up on the page. And then let's try and correct this. So it needs to be a bit higher. This is in the center, so probably about there, I would say. So I can rub that out a little bit. And then again, we can do the side of the house, the top of the roof, and then obviously work out how wide our house is going to be. And then this angle is going to be the same for the roof. So obviously here we've got this first pillar of this house, which seems to go down to about there. Then the second pillar comes out horizontal onto the pavement there. And then this third pillar lines up with that pillar. So we've got those two line up with this vanishing point, those two are horizontal, and then there's an additional one in there. I can see one more pillar there, and I can even see one small one kind of behind there which lines up with the back. Now you can probably see one final thing I haven't put in, which is this building in the background, which comes out to the pavement about there, horizontal. Just let's make sure we're perfectly horizontal. We can see the front of this house, which comes up to about that level. So there's the front. So none of that is in perspective because we can just see the doors, or should I say the windows in front. Again, try and draw them with a ruler. I'm just doing this for speed. and then you can see this house where you can see the side of it there. There's the side of it. So the side of it there goes to the vanishing point. There's the top of the house. And then obviously it's got a small chimney on top there. So those of you who are really starting to understand perspective will realize that for this house, because most of it is facing forward, there are only two lines which go to the vanishing point. This side line, which lines up with the pavement there, and the side of the chimney, which also is going to line up with the vanishing point. So that gives you an idea how to construct this first normal viewpoint. To start off with a box, I suggest, which is 11 by 13 centimeters. So 11 centimeters by 13. The eye level is 6 centimeters up from the bottom, not from the top, from the bottom. And then finally, I would put in the pavements and the roads. I would start off with this easier, smaller building, and then work my way across, working as lightly as you can. And I'm sure you will know that working with a telescopic pencil, which has got a much sharper point, is a good pencil to use for this, or even a very sharp HB pencil or a H pencil, which is very light and doesn't smudge as much. And lastly, when you've done that, you're going to write down the information for normal viewpoint underneath using guidelines nice and neatly, like that example. So if you look at this, this is good enough to get a 7.5 out of 10, so a secure, but this is very well done. He really shows understanding. This is good enough to get a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Everything is correct on there. And before anybody asks, you do not have to draw in the man. The man is just showing you the viewpoint on the eye level.